Hello and welcome to Rediscovering Childhood, a podcast that brings you lots of practical information to help you become a more conscious parent. This podcast is brought to you by Discovery Playtime, an Irish business that provides high-quality educational and sensory toys to help your children develop skills through play. Visit discoveryplaytime.ie or download the app to get inspired. In this episode, we have two very special guests. They're Aimee and Gillian, two primary school teachers that will show us the possibilities that play offers in the classroom to help children reach their full potential. They will share their experience teaching through play from junior infants all the way up to 6th class, and also parenting through play. And they will empower us to bring that play practice into our own school and home. When children learn through play, they're not just learning, but also developing the skills and well-being that will ensure their independence, resilience, and happiness. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Rediscovering Childhood. Today we're very excited to welcome Aimee and Gillian. They're two primary school teachers and they live in Kildare. And they'll tell us more about themselves now. Hello, Aimee and Gillian.
Hello. Hi, Maria.
Hello. So happy to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
In your purple.
We're creating a brand.
I love it. So if you want to tell us a little bit about yourselves, Gillian.
Okay, so I'm originally from Maynooth. I am a Kildare lady through and through. Go on the lilies. I live in Newbridge and I'm a primary school teacher. Living at home now in my new home with my husband and my two little boys. So I have a team of boys at home.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And Aimee?
Yeah, so I'm Aimee and I'm from Inchicore. I am teaching the last 15 years, I think. And I now live in Naas, which I absolutely love. And like yourself, I'm at home with my team of boys, two little boys at home as well. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking today.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Can't wait to open this conversation. We're going to be talking all about primary school, learning through play and the possibilities that play offers, not just at home, but also in the classroom, especially in the older years as well. Would you like to tell us a little bit about your childhood? We'll start with you, Aimee. How was your childhood and how has it affected your choices as an adult now?
Yeah, so like I said, I grew up in Inchicore, which is a suburb of Dublin. So we didn't have many green spaces. So like I lived on a main road. So I walk out of my house and I was literally on the main road. So we had our back garden and we had the Phoenix Park and things like that beside us. But I was part of lots of groups in the community. So part of art groups, drama groups, music groups, local choirs, which really got me involved in the community and socialising with other children as well. So my parents were really great advocates of the arts and sport. And I quote my dad when he says this, that he always feels that you can get any sort of education from sport and the arts, that you don't have to be seen as an academic. I bring that into my classroom. We have so many different needs in our classrooms right now. And I use it with my kids as well, that, you know, academics isn't everything. So I teach a lot through play, teach a lot through art, dance, everything. So that's how I bring it into my daily life.
Very interesting. Amazing. And how about you, Gillian?
I had a great childhood. As I say, grew up with one brother and my mum and dad. There were a lot of experiences offered to us. I remember going out. We used to go out nearly every weekend to somewhere different, seeing places around Ireland, doing different things as a family. That kind of stands out with me. And I'm really trying to do that now with my boys. So to take them places, to go out together on a Sunday or a Saturday, it's not necessarily always about the place. It's about being together as a family and experiencing things. We always look for opportunities to play, and a little bit of risky play. One of my favourite places to go is Donadee Forest, and I went there as a child, and it's just a gorgeous place. Every time I go there, I just feel different. And there's, there are trees and there are rocks and everything. And now I see my little boy climbing the ones I used to climb as a child. So play would have been very encouraged at home. I remember my dad having to step over lines of teddies and dolls in the kitchen, while he was cooking dinner. He'd be stepping over them because he was the principal of the school and I was teaching. So play would have been very encouraged, and reading was very encouraged. My mum is a huge advocate for reading. So we were always bought books. There was nearly a row between my parents at night time who's doing the bedtime story, and they'd be doing the voices and the characters. And again, trying to bring that into my home now as well with my boys. We would have been just outside there were loads of children in the estate, and I just remember massive games of rounders going on, on the green in front of us. It was great fun. So, great childhood.
Amazing. I really like the two things you said. The one about being part of many groups growing up, not just in school, because it opens up your doors to meeting other people. If something goes wrong in one place, you can always rely on the other groups and other things. And again, if you're not good in, or not that you're not good, but you have other strengths and qualities, then you can grow them. It doesn't have to be the same for everybody. You can find your own space and what you're good at, what you like, what you enjoy. And it's really, really important. That's doing after schools, if it comes to be that way, not just pack with loads of after schools and being so busy, but just doing what you really enjoy doing. And maybe that's a better option than doing homework, but that's a story for another day.
Yep.
And then the fact that visiting lots of places as well, as you mentioned, Gillian, it's so important to build children's confidence and be open to be part of this world and not be afraid of doing and saying things.
Yeah.
Great. So I know you play a lot in the classroom, as you mentioned. When did you realize that play was so important in the classroom, that children, it really makes a difference on how children learn and develop skills? Was it in college? Was it because you just knew, or did you do something that made you realize how important it is?
I was very lucky enough to train in London, where play is very much the basis of how their day is spent. So I do remember one of my final kind of placements was in reception. So it would be equivalent to like junior infants here, junior and senior infants. And they had a fantastic classroom. They just played all day long and they'd access to everything. Their classroom door led out onto a playground. And you would just call them in for English, you'd call them in for maths, and you'd do them in their little groups. And then I came home and then I didn't see any of this, but I knew instantly that this was how children learn. It's in them. So I worked my first ever school was actually the school that I went to as a kid. So I spent 4 years there and I absolutely loved it. It was a Desh Band 1 in Inchicore. There were lots of challenging needs and a lot of it had to be done through play. So I knew then that children just learn instinctively through play. And then fast forward like 13, 14 years, the class that I had this year were incredible hands-on learners. It was also in the back of my mind, they were the COVID class. So they were in junior infants when COVID hit us. So they were out of school more times than they were in. And I knew they had missed out on so many play opportunities. And I was incredibly lucky to have an SNA that helped foster this as well. So a lot of our days were spent learning through play. And I could see from the children back in September, I could just see the development. Like there were so many kind of, social skills issues at the beginning of the year, and they found play quite hard because they weren't used to it. My main focus this year was to get them to play and to be able to, conflict resolution, all of that. So I think especially back in Desh Band 1, in my first ever class, I did play then, and then fast forward 15 years, it's still very much part of my classroom. And this year especially, I could see the benefits of play, and they would have been second class this year. I know there were times people would say, like, do you not feel like you should be doing workbooks and, things like that? And I'm like, but they're not there. They weren't ready to sit down at a desk every single day. I'm not ready to sit down at a desk every single day. Yes, I'm very proud of them in how they grew in confidence, and I believe a lot of that came down from play.
Yeah. And how do you do to set boundaries? Because what I get a lot from teachers is, but it's if we play in the classroom, everything is out of control and there's no limits. And can you share your experience with setting limits and how it is actually? And I think they need experience. Of course, it's going to be out of control if they haven't done it before, but that's the whole point of playing in the classroom, that they learn to regulate themselves and learn and play within limits.
Absolutely. So what I do every September, there will not be a workbook in place in September. I'm getting to know my class. We're building boundaries. We're setting, rules and things like that. So, like, say for the first 6 weeks, 8 weeks, we do very much kind of structured play. I would set up different stations and they would get time to spend each day. But as the year went on, myself and my SNA, we noticed that they were playing properly. So it kind of was like, well, I don't want to play on this table today. Can I go play somewhere else? And all of a sudden they were just kind of intertwining between other tables, and that just kind of grew. But it grew from setting the boundaries at the very beginning. They were responsible for setting the tables up. They were responsible for putting everything away. They were responsible for thinking, well, how can we link what we're learning into play? Like, they were coming up with the ideas as well.
It's the curiosity that gets them going.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how I did, and it worked particularly for this class this year.
So kind of start small and then start moving and give them more choice as they learn, as they practice more.
And just having access to those resources, having your classroom just open and allowing them to go and use those resources. It's their classroom. Yeah. It's not my classroom. It's their classroom. So I'd always say that, even when we're tidying up, I'm like, no, man, it's your classroom, you tidy up. So I think they spend most of their life in that classroom. So
that's really good. And how about you, Gillian? How was your first experience with teaching and teaching through play?
So I unfortunately didn't get that experience of training with, learning through play. It was very much academic. So my first experience of teaching and learning through play was my second year in our school, my third year in our school, my second year in the mainstream class. I was in senior infants, and our principal wanted to bring Ashton into the school. So the 6 infant teachers, 3 junior infants and 3 senior infant teachers, we did the week-long Ashton course during the summer. So that's actually my only training of learning through play, a week. And I just thought the course was amazing. Doing that course just opened my eyes. It was amazing. And I think from being able, so the 6 of us brought it into the school. We bought the resources, we set it up, we got the books for the stimulus. And I think kind of comparing my first year in senior infants and my second year, where we had the Ashton stations, you can see a huge difference. I went, this is how I want to teach. This is how I want my classroom to go. It just unlocks so much potential. And I really saw that. So unfortunately, I didn't have the training in college. I've kind of done it myself since that. So as I say, the only official training is the summer course I did. But other than that, then it's just my own research, trial and error. Did that work in the classroom? Did it not? Just bringing it into the classroom, and I think to be not to be afraid of it. And as you said, it's their classroom, Aimee. Not to be precious with your resources. There were times where I was kind of thinking, oh gosh, let's mind that now, and maybe I won't put that out because I don't want the children to ruin. That's what it's for. Yeah. Let them use what they need to use. And I'm the same now with my art resources. I'm like, whatever you need, it's there. Yeah. It's your classroom. It's our classroom. I never refer to it as my classroom. It's our classroom. And we all mind it, set the boundaries. We all respect it. We mind our classroom. We mind our resources. But the benefits just far outweigh anything I've ever done. So it's just amazing.
Yeah, and it creates that sense of belonging.
Yes,
it's not just like I'm here to learn. And
as well, the children can have another idea and they could say, could we do this? And you go, gosh, I never thought of that. Actually, let's try that. And I think as well, for them to be able to tell the teacher how to do something, it's a confidence building, Yeah. It's amazing because we tell them what to do and that's the way it is. But it's actually not. We learn from them as well. Yeah.
But it's just you have to be willing to listen as well. And that will keep that confidence, because if you say no, or that's a silly idea, or you don't listen or ignore them, which is worse.
Yes.
That not even acknowledging that they came up with an idea, then that's it. They're not going to come up with any more ideas.
Exactly. They won't offer their ideas anymore.
No, why would they?
As when they grow older, as part of their job, that might be part of their job where they have to offer ideas and come up with new strategies. So if you've given them that skill in the classroom, it's invaluable.
Yeah, and it's not just for the children, but for your own motivation as a teacher to come up with new things, new challenges, and something exciting and new every day.
And we're quite lucky to be in a job where things are quite different every single day. Yes, you don't know what's going to come into your classroom door.
Yes, you really do.
What's the most random thing that has come up in your classroom that you weren't expecting it, and then you just went with it and it turned out something either amazing or maybe That wasn't a prepared question.
No, it wasn't a prepared question, but I kind of sensed you were going to ask something like that. I think a lot of the time it's just taking children's curiosity, and we did a thing this year that every Monday and Friday we would do a show and tell, and the kids would send in their videos, or they'd say if they didn't want to do it in front of the class, they would send in videos via Seesaw or whatever. And from any of those things that would come in, there'd be a learning opportunity, and the kids were like, well, can we go and learn about that, or can we go and can we do something on that, can we do playtime on that? And it was like, well, let's go. I have them right here in front of me. Let's go and do it. I remember I had 4th class there a couple of years ago. We did the story of the tiger who came to tea.
Love that book.
Like, I was bamboozled that not one kid in the class had ever heard of this story. So I brought the book in, and we got a good 2-week chunk based on this. So we went from reading it to bringing the tiger to court, because, you know, did he come into the house? Did he trespass? So we got drama into it. We translated it into Irish, and then we finished off by setting up like Small World Tea Party. And at first I was like, oh no, these are 10 or 11. Are they going to actually enjoy this? We couldn't stop them from playing.
Yeah, that's
like,
amazing.
They got all the little Small World things, like the little wooden pieces and everything. And every kid's tea party was completely different. And then the amount of oral language that was learned, you know, like, and it was, I don't get that from a workbook.
No, you don't. No,
I don't.
amazing.
And like, I've used it with the younger classes, and I've used it with the older classes as well. And it just works. You know, some kids will be like, oh, that's a baby's book. But when you actually brought in the whole element of bringing the tiger to court, they had to think quite critically and logically. So that was a different way of thinking for them that they may have never done before. And some of our kids who would be quite really good academically, they found that thinking quite difficult. Yeah. And I kept pushing them, and they got there in the end.
Well, play is a skill.
Yeah,
and, it takes time, and you know, and say, oh, my child doesn't know how to play, or doesn't hold attention for longer, but it takes practice. It's just that consistency again and again
and giving them the exposure to it as well. They have to be given the opportunity to learn it.
Absolutely.
And I think as teachers, we have that responsibility. To expose them to so much play. And thankfully now, with our new curriculum that's coming in, you know, a lot of it is play-based, even further up in 5th and 6th class. So like, children are going to be exposed a lot more to playtime and finding different ways of learning. Like, if you look at the Howard Gardner's Multiple of Intelligence, there's so many different ways. I remember doing it in a class before, and one kid was like, well, I'm really good at music, and oh, this person's really good at languages. I'm just as clever as they are. And it's like getting them to realise that, you know, you don't have to be the same as everybody else.
And then it helps you develop your weaknesses as well, because it's like a challenge, but it also, others can learn from your strengths. So it's very, very powerful. Would you like to share an experience you might have had of an activity in the classroom?
Yeah, the one that comes to mind actually was 2 years ago, not the 6th class we've just finished, the one before that. We were talking all about the Winter Olympics. It came up in conversation, you know, just one of those random conversations we were talking. It wasn't on the plan. It wasn't to be covered or anything. It was just a chat we were having about the Winter Olympics and the ski jumps, and, you know, they were all kind of chatting among themselves. And we ended up developing a STEM activity out of it. So we gave the children, every child got a piece of tinfoil, a pipe cleaner, and 2 lollipop sticks. And then I went into the other 2 6th classes and said, lads, doing a bit of a STEM activity if you want to do it, to the 2 teachers. So they did it as well. So we ended up, all of the 3 6th classes ended up creating their own little ski jumper. So they had to make their ski jumper out of the tinfoil and fashion it so that the legs could bend, and stick it to the lollipop sticks. They were the skis. And we did like a challenge in our class, who could make their ski jumper jump the furthest. And we had like a wooden ramp, and we had great fun. So then the other 2 6th classes were doing that as well. And then we actually got the top 3 from each 6th class. And we were all 6 classes, 70 children out in the corridor doing a tinfoil ski or ski jump. It was the best fun ever. But it was this kind of, why did mine not work? And another child is going, well, because, you know, the legs aren't bent, or the legs were you needed to put more tinfoil on this, or, you know, they really helping each other. And it ended up just being so much fun. We were, like, as I say, 70 children out in the corridors, the teachers out. We were just, the cheering going on. We had the ramp, we were measuring, and it was just brilliant. We had so much fun. And it came from a random conversation. I think a child at lunchtime said, "Did you see the Winter Olympics? Are you watching that?" And that's how it transpired. And it was just, it wasn't on the plan, but I could totally stand over it. If anybody came into my classroom, I'm kind of going, well, it's not on my plan, but this
you're
is
confident
what,
enough to show that there's a reason behind what you're doing.
You know, and I'm so lucky in our school. Our principal and our deputy principal are so, you know, they'd walk up and go, "What's going on here? Come on, tell us all about this." Rather than the, "What's going on here?" You know, it's very much, there was no question of, "And now, can you tell me where this is on your plan and why are you doing this and what are you linking this to do?" Yeah. You know, it was very much, "Come on, what's going on? Who's winning? Is it your class or your class?" Or, you know, so it was just great fun. And we learned so much. As I say, we were measuring the distance. It was the STEM activity, you know, the forces, and
but the relationship building that created.
Was brilliant.
Yeah,
it was brilliant. And, you know, because it became a challenge between the three classes, the top three in our class were the best in the, you know, like, come on, and you're brilliant. And of course, then we decided, okay, well, whichever one wins the whole challenge, the whole class gets a homework pass. So that was like, "Oh my God, you're amazing." You know, but it was so much fun. And the three teachers, we just had so much fun as well, you know, so it just can come from a small conversation.
Yeah. And have you ever had the opposite reaction where you'll try to play or bring, you know, learning and play together and someone stops you, either another teacher, principal, or parents questioning what you're doing?
Quite lucky. I've never had that experience.
No, neither have I.
I'd look funny at somebody if they. I've never.
No, I've never had any parents question. Never had any teachers. I'm sure there are teachers in the school silently questioning.
Yeah,
why are they lining up the 6th class upstairs with tinfoil and lollipop sticks? Like, I've done a few things. We made little parachutes for eggs, and we were throwing eggs out the window one day, and with the parachute. But I'm sure teachers question. Nobody said it to me, and I'm very lucky that in our school we've had 2 principals. So our past principal retired. And she was very engaged with play, and she was a great advocate. And our current principal is too. So I've been very lucky. I think maybe that gives me the confidence to kind of say, well, I'm not going to be questioned.
And that they can stand over what you're doing as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think maybe if I knew the principal was a bit disapproving of it, I wouldn't be as likely to try these things. You try them in the classroom, you mightn't try them in the rest of the school or be as kind of loud about it. But no, I'm very lucky that they've been very supportive, and yeah, my colleagues, my stream teachers have been very supportive of it as well.
And I think as well, inviting the principal in and inviting the deputy principal in and showing them what you're actually doing in your classroom. And then I know my principal this year, he would have always been like, and, you know, he was very much big into, well, what are they learning? But the kids were able to turn around and have that conversation with him.
And he could experience that.
And he could experience that. And he loved that. Like, he did love that hands-on learning. But I think if the children, whatever about you or I, saying, "Oh yes, this is what we're putting in our kid, this mesul," if the children can have that conversation with somebody else, with whether it be an adult or a child or their parent, "This is what I learned in school today."
There's proof.
Nobody's going to question you.
You know, they're learning how to learn. Yes, you know, like, and that's the most important.
Especially
thing.
now with all the new intelligence and technology and everything. You can get the answers from anywhere, but if you don't know, but if you don't know how to find those answers, then no one's going to do that for you. Yeah. And if you could give some advice, say, imagine a school where a teacher wants to bring more play into the classroom, but there's zero support from the principal or from other teachers. Is there anything you could say to that teacher to encourage that teacher to just do it?
I was going to say, just go for it.
And don't give up. And
I think, like you say, Amy, just invite the principal in. So if there is kind of a refusal about it, there's a lack of support, I would go for it. And I would do it in the classroom. Set up your structured play first, as you said, Amy, and then let it become more free play. And then bring the principal in and say, okay, so guys, what's our topic? Okay, we were talking about the tiger who came to tea. Do you want to explain that? And let the principal, the other teachers, the parents see how much learning has happened, and show them the drawings the children have done. Show them the dramas they've made. Let the children explain. And then maybe bring them in for a lesson where you didn't teach through play. okay, guys, can you explain what we've been teaching? And even their enthusiasm is different. You know, they start talking really enthusiastically. And can I tell you, teacher? Can I explain it? Whereas when it's kind of more a book lesson, the enthusiasm isn't there as much to explain what they've learned. So I would nearly be bringing them in and saying, "There's the difference. Look at the difference." Yeah. And yes, there is chaos in the classroom. Yes, the classroom's messy. But they're learning. Look what they've learned. And if the children then can't explain what they've learned, then maybe you can say, okay, I need to try a different strategy. But I'd absolutely go for it.
Don't give up.
Don't give up. Go for it.
We're here to support you anyway.
And play yourself. Get down and play with them.
We say to the children, if something doesn't work, well, let's try it another way. So, like, I mean, we should be practicing what we preach every single day. And I think as well, having that communication with parents as well, like we not just building the relationships with the parent or with the children, but to build those relationships with parents. Like this was my first ever year using Seesaw. I would have used like Class Dojo and things like that. But I loved Seesaw because, you know, a couple of times a week I'd put up photographs of what they were doing, what they were learning. Or sometimes the kids would make videos and they would tell their parents at home what they're doing. And it's living proof. It's coming from them. It's not coming from me. So I think communication with parents and with the children is a number one priority as well for me, because you can't have the kids on board. You can't expect the kids to be doing everything if the parents aren't on board with you as well. So I just think it's all about relationship building as well.
But I think as well that opens up conversations at home. So rather than going home and the parents say, what you do today? What do children say to that? Nothing.
Yeah, can we just all stop asking that question to our children, please?
Yeah. By sharing things with the parents, it gives them a different question to ask.
They need specific questions. Yeah.
Like I'm very lucky that my little boy's he's just finished junior infants in my school. So if I was walking down the corridor and saw something on the wall outside his room, it gives me a question. And I can say to him, you know, oh, you were learning about whatever today. And he can say, oh yeah, I did. And this is what we did. Rather than saying, so what you doing in school today? Nothing. Whereas by sharing on any platform like that with the parents, they can say to their own child, I see you were doing about the Winter Olympics today. What were you doing about that? And then you can't stop the child talking then. Rather than say, what you do today? Nothing.
And I think especially for those children who just don't engage in that conversation, or they might, and I hate using the word shy, but like they don't feel confident. They're introvert, and it's like you're giving the parent that platform to open that conversation. It's like, oh, you were, like you say, you were learning about the Winter Olympics or whatever.
And I think as well, children are tired after school. They've had a busy day, you know, whatever they've been doing.
So you go back home from work, the last thing you want to do is talk about work.
Exactly. And lots happen during the day, but you don't remember it unless somebody specifically asks you. So I think by giving parents the opening to start the conversation, they're less likely to say, my child's doing nothing in school. You know, what's going on? Or why are those workbooks not finished? When the child comes home with a workbook not done, and the parent says, well, why half that book's not done? Why didn't you do it? They know through the course of the year, oh, I see there's a page here on the Winter Olympics. But you didn't do it in the book because you were doing something else, weren't you? What were you doing? So that the parents can understand that as well, that it's not all bookwork. And it doesn't have to be all bookwork for learning to take place.
It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be. Shouldn't be.
Shouldn't be. So from a teacher's perspective, what's your ideal form of communication with the parents? Or the right amount of communication? You know, what would be ideal for you to be sharing with the parents every week that say, oh, that's perfect, so they know what we're doing and I know if I need to get any information from them. What's good for you? It's not too much. It's not adding extra work. From a parent's perspective now, sometimes I'm afraid of, you know, wanting to share too much information with the teacher, and sometimes I'd like her to share more information with me. So from a teacher's perspective, what is ideal for you?
I like communicating with the parents.
I do too, yeah.
Like I'm one of those teachers who actually does like communicating with parents. Like, I mean, we have Aladdin in school, we have email, and this year we had Seesaw as well. So I know in the junior end, it was very much, okay, you upload stuff on, say, on a Friday, so you're not bombarding parents with information. I found that really hard to stick with. So I would have put up on Seesaw maybe twice a week, but you can't beat face-to-face communication with parents. And as they get older in the school, it's really hard to have that face-to-face communication.
They're not collecting them at the gate, or you don't get to see them as often. The children tend to go home, maybe walking home or something, so you're not meeting the parents as much.
And it's the same with parent-teacher meetings. Like some schools are back now doing face-to-face communication. we were still on Zoom. Like, I'm if a parent wants to email me and say, look, Johnny and I had a fight this morning. He's in really bad form. Can you just keep an eye on him? That is...
it's invaluable.
It's
I agree.
invaluable.
Okay.
And I know some teachers don't agree with that, and that's fine. That's their own thing.
But it means that you can give him a little bit of slack if he kind of is a bit defiant, if he's not working, so you can go, okay, I know what happened this morning. Yeah. This is not you not wanting to engage. This is you processing what happened.
Yeah.
So I think that's huge.
So you're more prepared to deal and have the resources available to help him emotionally as well.
And give him a bit of space if he needs to. Yeah. You know, if you see him with his head down on the table or he's staring into space, don't be like, what are you doing? Why aren't you doing your work? You know, give him that bit of space and let him come back and emotionally help him as well. So I think that's so important.
And it gives you a chance to kind of teach them the regulation skills that they actually need. But it also teaches the other children empathy.
Yes.
Do you know, it teaches the other children, okay, well, somebody is having a bad day. Can we leave this child alone, or can we welcome them into our game on the yard? Yeah. So it's this year, like myself, my SNA would have always said it, they were the most empathetic. They were just full of empathy. They got lots and lots of play. And there was lots of challenging needs, but they learned to work through that together. Yeah. And I think that's an invaluable skill that children can learn.
Yeah. I think a lot of the time those conflicts are kind of an obstacle for learning.
Yes.
But they're the actual learning.
It's not.
We should use that for the real learning.
Yeah.
Because books can wait. That can't wait.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
But they won't, if they're dysregulated, they
won't learn.
There's no point in even trying to teach them their times tables. No. They're not going to learn.
And then everyone gets frustrated because nothing's working, and you just take that time, and it's an investment. It's a time investment.
100%.
And then everyone is on the same page.
Yeah,
that's very important.
We actually had an open night. We've gone back to that. We hadn't, obviously with COVID, we hadn't done that. We used to do it years ago. And we went back to an open night. We had it in October. So we had gotten to know the children. Our classrooms were up and running. And we have quite a large school. We've over 600 children in the school. It was packed that night. There was a queue to get into school.
Wow.
There was a queue to get into school. My husband brought our little boy who'd only started junior infants, because obviously I was up in the classroom, and he texted me and said, we're queuing to get into school.
Wow.
We're queuing. But there was a huge queue, and parents were so lovely. I had parents coming into me of children I had taught through the years. They weren't in my current class. They were coming, put their head in and say hello, and it was just wonderful. It was wonderful to see the children not during the school day, if you know what I mean. They were in the school environment.
More relaxed.
But they were walking around and they were showing their parents, this is what we did, and look at this, and this is my writing, this is the board that we use for whatever. There was just a buzz in the school that night. And as I say, parents popping in to say hello. And I really found with COVID then, I didn't know the parents, so I could meet a parent down the town or something and I wouldn't know who you were. Whereas by seeing them that night, you can go, oh, you're so-and-so's mum, hi, how are you? Or they can go, oh, there's the teacher, you know, hi, how are you? It was just lovely. And the buzz in the school was just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
And I'm sure it made a difference as well than even going back the next day into school.
Absolutely.
It was a more personal relationship.
And, you know, to say to them, oh, it was lovely to meet you and your mum last night. It was lovely to see your dad last night. And I saw your sister coming in, she's left, and, you know, how was she? And it was just lovely. And to see the parents and for them to put a face to us as well, I think it makes it easier then to come to us for communication. You know, with the face-to-face, you can't beat the face-to-face. I'm all for emails, and we use Aladdin as well. We use Google Classroom and we use a school website, and I'm all for that, but you can't beat the face-to-face. And sometimes when they've seen you the first time, you know, they might be more likely to say, I just have a quick word with you about whatever it is, you know, positive or negative. But because you've had a good first meeting, a good first positive encounter, it just makes all the difference.
Such a good idea. And say if a child comes in very dysregulated in the morning, what techniques or what resources would you use to help that child regulate?
So I actually do a check-in circle every morning. It's about building relationships, and it's about kind of, you know, getting the class together, developing empathy, developing different responses. So we would all say, you know, and children are obviously welcome to pass if they would like to. So we go around, we say, and I join in. I'm part of the class too. So I always give how am I feeling today? Well, I'm feeling a 10 today because, you know, whatever. Or I'm feeling a 7. I'm actually really nervous about recording this podcast, and I'm really excited, but I'm feeling a 7. And then you can give your response if you want to. You can give your reason. A child might say, I'm feeling a 3 today. And we just move on. That's fine. But then I make a little note myself and I say, okay, do you want to come out and have a chat? What's going on? Why are you feeling a 3? Tired today? Okay, Grant. Anything I can help you with? But it also gives the other children that developing the empathy. Okay, well, Amy's a 3 today. She's not feeling great. Maybe if she doesn't want to play on yard, we don't have to have a row about it. You know the way children might take things differently? So it definitely develops that empathy, and children are really excited as well to say, I'm feeling a 9 because, you know, I'm going to my granny and granddad's today, and they're excited about it. And so when they're a little bit overexcited, that you can, you know why they're excited, you can pull them back. So we also do like a little mindful exercise every day, a wellbeing exercise. And I have a different one because I say to the children, not everything works for you. So meditation doesn't work for you. A positive quote might work for you. Listening to some calming music, listening to some upbeat music. So I change it every day. And we also have one as well where we give Fab Friday, we give each other a compliment. So you have to kind of find something to say, you know, and it could be something as simple as, I like your shoes today, or you were really good at the maths yesterday, and I love the way you brought whatever in, you know, and it's really good for them to develop that themselves. And that helps each other as well, that they can find that a bit of regulation through that as well, that I am being acknowledged for what I'm great at. Even to give them time. I think for us, knowing a child is dysregulated, to give them a bit of time. They know I'm here to come to if you want to talk to me. And I've had so many children say to me, can I have a chat outside?
Build that trust with you as
trust
well.
with me. Yeah. And I've said to them, I might not always be able to help, but even talking to me could be,
it really helps.
Could be the help.
Yeah.
And then I can say to them, okay, now have a chat outside. So they can say to me, whatever it is bothering them today, why they're upset or whatever it is. And then I can say, what do you need? Do you want to take your chair outside and just sit outside the door for 5 minutes? Are you okay? Whatever it is you need, you can tell me. I might not be able to help with that. I can't provide everything. But and then through the course of the year, you can see the children saying, what I need today is, I actually just need 5 minutes. Or what I need today is, could I just go down the bottom of the stairs and stick my head outside the door and come back up again? You know, and for me to be able to say, go on, because it's not this, no, you can't go out, you can't do this, you're not supposed to be outside the classroom, that they know I'll be back up in a minute. She knows I'll be back up in a minute. It builds trust between us all. And I think by allowing the children to decide what they need, putting the strategies in place in September, working on it, telling them these are what we can do, and they can say, today I need to just squeeze the squeezy ball because I'm feeling really angry, or I just need to chill out for 5 minutes, whatever it is they need.
And that's a tool that they're going to keep with them forever. And they, whenever they need it in any situation in life, they're going to have that resource and they know what to do.
And that's why, like, I change my wellbeing activities every day. We've a different one every day. We've Mindful Monday, Talk It Out Tuesday, Wise Words Wednesday, Thankful Thursday, and Fab Friday. So we do. But because something won't work for everybody. So like today I might need to realise what I'm grateful for because I'm having such a bad day. I'm going to look at things I'm grateful for and I'm going to be thankful today. Another day it could be talking about it. So I'm trying to give them those strategies to...
And it builds such a nice habit as well.
Oh, it's gorgeous. We love it. And they love Fab Friday. And it's funny, you can see them, I teach 6th, and you can see them at the start. I'm not saying something nice to you. No. Yeah. And particularly the boys, you know, and what I do is we all stand up. So you can only give a compliment to somebody who's standing. So that means that Gillian won't get 3 compliments and Aimee gets none. So we have to give. So it means that people who aren't necessarily friends, but you can see the boys at the start, they're going, your hair's nice. And then at the end, they're going, do you know what, actually, you were really good at football the other day and I like the way you included me. And
that's incredible.
It changes. And I love to see that change. I love to see them going from being too cool for school to tell their friend they're good at something to acknowledging. And actually I saw you on Wednesday and I was holding it till today and I'm dying to tell you. You know, and it's brilliant. But I've seen them doing it among themselves as well then, you know.
And they'll do it outside school as well without even realising because it's that habit, it's built in them and that's amazing.
It's lovely. Yeah.
And for your nodding, I know, I can see you're
doing, there was
you do that as well.
I do that. So yeah, the children would have come in, they come in every morning and I make a real big point of saying hello to each individual child as they come through the door, all 31 of them. But we would always start our morning with a morning meeting. Like we might have a riddle or we might have a would you rather. It's not that everybody has to answer, but everyone's kind of encouraged to answer. And like you say, there are those children there who mightn't feel comfortable, but I think it's about building that relationship. We do zones of regulation in our school and we also do brain cam as well, which is a series of exercises to, if the children are really, really hyper, to bring them down, or if the children are really lethargic, to bring them up. So you're gauging the class first thing in the morning. And I keep going back to my SNA because she was incredible when it came to the brain cam. It turned into almost like a boot camp. The kids were like, when are we going to do brain cam? When are we going to do brain cam? So for those children who needed to kind of punch it out when they'd come in the morning, that was their little technique. We also have like a Zen den in the classroom, and that's where like there's a yoga mat and cushions and things like that. And kids would just come to me and go, is it okay if I just take 5 minutes into the Zen den, and there'll be a gym ball there for them and they can bounce up and down on that. And then most recently, the school that I'm going to be going to in September is a big restorative practice school as well. And I've been reading a lot about that and looking into that. And her thing is one word whizzes. Have you heard of that? So it's like one of the questions one day is, what does Miss Mary, what's she going to have for her dinner today? And like everybody has to answer. And you can see the kids who don't want to talk, they're absolutely sweating. They're like, oh, but I have to, if I want to get into my line, I have to give an answer or whatever. So like, what do you think Miss Mary should have for dinner today? And I had one boy this year who, he didn't talk for the entire year. Like he would do his work. He found play quite difficult, but that was the first time we ever heard him talk. What Miss Mary should have for dinner, like pasta. Okay, off you go. And myself and my SNA looked at each other and were like, he's spoke. So it goes back to just having that relationship and
that's
having
what it's all about.
The trust. Like we are their world for 5 days a week, whatever amount of hours a week, how many days a year. This is where they spend most of their time. I can't imagine not being able to have that trust or have that confidence to say to me, teacher, can I go and just take 5 minutes?
But I think there's this a kind of a perception with your Zen den, with the different things,
the alternative seatings and things like.
and the people are thinking, the kids will just take advantage of that. If the child says, can I go down and use the yoga mat for 5 minutes, they'll never come back. They'll be there for the whole day.
They do.
But they do. And I've had children say to me, can I just put my head outside and just take a minute outside? And I go on, you're grand. They come back within 30 seconds.
So if they don't do it, it's because they're probably looking for attention, and then they want you to go back and get them. But if you're building that trust, and they know you trust them, they don't want to let you down.
Exactly. And they take what they need and they come back. They don't take advantage of it. But I think there is maybe a fear among teachers that I can't have that in my classroom because they will the whole class will be down in the Zen down there and they won't come back to me all day. But that's not the way it is at all. They take what they need, they regulate themselves and they come back.
And I think as well, they're just, you're in the middle of teaching a lesson and it could go on for a while and you can see the kids are getting really tired and they're borderline bored or whatever. It's like, okay, well, let's stop.
Yeah.
Mine love, let's go have a chat break. And they're like we're allowed to go and just chat to other friends that sit on another table. And you give them a 5-minute chat break and off they go. They have their chat. And like, okay, right, lesson resume. And they all come back in again.
And it's different.
Yeah.
I have lollipop sticks and we do like 30 seconds. So pull a lollipop sticks and it might be jumping jacks. Pull a lollipop sticks. And I have 2 different ones. So we have the calm ones if they're too high, and we have the active ones if they need to come up a little bit. And you feel it, and sometimes you're teaching and you're like, I'm not even listening to myself here. So
many a day like that.
So you kind of go, okay, let's pull a lollipop stick. What are we doing today? Oh, we're running on the spot. 30 seconds on the timer, go. Yeah. And the difference when it resumes, it's incredible. It's incredible to see it.
And I think you taking part in it is
100%.
so important.
I think they have to see us as part of the class. I'm not just the teacher who tells you what to do. I'm part of the class. I take part in the circles. I take part in every discussion.
You're human.
I am human. I tell them about myself. And I sometimes have come in and said, guys, just to say to you, I have a whopper headache today, so I'm just going to take 5 minutes, okay? And they can see, okay, she's human. So I think it's so good for them to see we're part of the class.
And I think taking them outside.
100%.
Like, okay, let's just drop everything. We have dear time. We drop everything and read. We drop everything and dance.
But teacher, it's raining. So.
No, put the rain jackets on.
Yeah.
Let's just...
You're not sugar or salt.
You're not going to melt. But just getting them outside. Like that 5-minute, 10-minute fresh air. And
so worth it.
Yeah. Oh, we had extra playtime. We had extra yard time today. And it just gives them the boost that they need. Because I don't want to be in the classroom for the entire day. I don't. And we all come back in refreshed and revitalised. And it's like, let's keep going for the rest of the day. Yeah.
What's the main difference between play in the, say, junior, senior, infants, first class and play in 4th, 5th, 6th class? Because Gillian, you've been with the older kids for a while now.
Yeah, so I'm going into my 4th year teaching 6th class.
So everything, just to be clear, everything you're saying about play, it's with the older kids, and it is possible.
Oh, 100%
It is possible.
Yeah, 100%. I taught senior infants for 3 years. I taught 2nd class for 4 years. I have taught children with additional needs. I've taught SET, and now I'm in 6th. So I'm going into my 4th year of 6th class. 100% it's possible. I've taken out the tough tray. And yeah, it starts off with them being far too cool for school. You want us to do what? But oh my gosh, the learning, the activities. Like I would do the stories in our Irish book, which... That's a conversation for another day.
Has to be done.
It has to be done. But I would do the stories in the Irish book. I can assess the children. They can write the answer to the question. So they can translate the story. They can write the answer to the question. And I know whether they've understood that. Or we could do it as a drama. So if the story is about a child falling on the path off their bike, if they give me that in a drama, I can assess that they have understood it. But we've all had much more fun and we've all learned it. So I would always do our Irish stories like that. It's the same with history, geography. If you're learning a concept, let's act it out. Let's have our small world. Let's have World War II is on our curriculum. So build an Anderson shelter.
Yeah.
What's an Anderson shelter? I don't know. You go and find out what it is and build it. What do I build it with? Whatever you want.
Throw a sensory bin into it.
Whatever you want.
Because play is the connector between
100%.
the learning, the knowledge, the contents, and our own brain. And play is that connector.
So I can tell you what an Anderson shelter is. You probably won't remember in 2 years' time.
That's it.
But you made it, and you sourced your materials. You looked it up. You did your research. You
never forget it.
You never forget it, and you would want to see the ones they bring in. You would want to see. I had a boy last year, and I had a terrible soft spot for him. Challenging behaviour at times. I think the problem was he's not a book learner. He said to me, "What will we make the Anderson shelter out of?" And I said, "Whatever you want." "Can I make it out of wood?" I said, "You can make it out of anything that's appropriate to bring into school, and as long as you can physically carry it." "Can I make it out of wood?" "Of course you can." You would want to see what he brought in, because he's a tactile learner. I gave no information about what an Anderson shelter is, so they have to go off. But I can tell by looking at. Did you look up what that is? Their creations are incredible. Some of them are made out of Lego. Some of them are made out of wood. Some of them are Play-Doh. Some of them are made out of, different things I would never think of. Cereal boxes, they're incredible. And he brought it in, and his presentation was incredible. He stood up because he was so confident in what he had made. He knew exactly what it was about, why it was used, how it was made, because he wasn't reading it from a book or writing it out. It was incredible. And play can be a science activity. I've done bubbles in the classroom. And you take out bubbles, you forget that 6th class are still children. You take out bubbles and they're so excited. So we do our STEM activity, but we go outside and we blow the bubbles first. So we're out in the yard, we're blowing bubbles, we're all having fun, and some of them are blowing them, some of them are popping them. And you go, this could be a class of junior infants. They're 6th class. And this kind of bravado falls away. And then we went back upstairs and I had the tough trays out, and it was to see how many bubbles you can get inside another bubble. The classroom, there was so much fun, so much learning. Why didn't it work? How can we make this better? What can we add? What can we change? Oh my gosh, brilliant. I am just an absolute advocate for play. And sometimes it's a case of, as you say, let's not be precious about our materials. Open the press and say, okay, today we are learning about whatever. There's your materials. Can you make that? Can you show me that? Can you do that? Can you draw it? What way do you want to learn it? I give them projects and I say, you can do your project any way you want. Because somebody might find a skill. Actually, I'm really good at making videos. I made a video for my presentation. I'm really good at that. I like that. I'm going to explore that more. I made a model. I did a poster. I stood up and gave a presentation. Whatever it is, it's to unlock their potential. There's so much scope for play. And I've been very excited to bring it into the 6th class, because we only do Astra up to 1st in our school.
If some schools don't even do that.
Yeah, so we do junior, senior and 1st. And I did it in 2nd. I extended it up to 2nd as well. But I was so excited going into 6th to say, how can I bring play into the classroom? And it's just so worthwhile. It's brilliant. We do forget that 6th class are children as well.
Yeah, I love that point. There's this, when the children get to 5th and 6th, oh, we're getting them ready for secondary school. No, we're not. We're getting them ready for life and actually giving them the skills for life, and we're teaching them to learn how to learn. Yeah. So I've done infants, I've done second, third and fourth. I was in third and fourth for about 8 or 9 years back to back. And I remember a few years ago, I had a class that had very high levels of anxiety. There were days where it was quite difficult and I did messy play. At first I was like, how is this going to go? And like that, had the tough trays, had all the different stations, had the oobleck, water play, everything. And it was the calmest they have ever been. And those children with the high level anxieties were actually, they were coming down. Classroom was an absolute state by the end of it. But kids love jobs. They love helping. So it was their responsibility to clean up everything. Now, the oobleck was a nightmare to clean up afterwards. Like 4th, 5th or 6th class, you can introduce play. And you mentioned something there, like about the war. I was chatting to a friend of mine. She's on Creative Starts. And, she has done 4th, 5th and 6th as well. And it's like, you're learning about the Egyptians. How can we build pyramids? Let's throw in sensory play. Yeah. Like, let's put the sand into it. And all of a sudden it becomes something.
And it's problem solving. How can I build the pyramid using this material that I have? Yeah. And then change it around and say, okay, now today you have this material, you have this. So now how do you make it? And chat to your friends who had it yesterday and say, what did you do? How can I change this?
Learn from each other.
Exactly. And I just think it's invaluable from the infant classes.
A good thing to do with the older classes as well is to get them to create play opportunities for the younger classes as well. Yeah. Like we did that with second this year. We did sewing for Halloween and for Valentine's Day. At first, I was like, this is going to go one way or another. But there was a boy in the class who was incredible at sewing. So he ended up taking a little group and he started teaching them. But then it was like, okay, the first classes are doing sewing, but it was really difficult with one teacher and 31 kids. Well, why don't we bring second class in, buddy them up and teach them how to sew? And like, there's their oral language, there's their communication, there's their self-esteem, there's their confidence.
We did that for reading, the buddy reading, so 6th went with junior infants. But even like when the junior infants start, you could say to them, come on, we'll go out to the yard and we need you guys to teach them how to play. So let's make up a game or, whatever. But actually sometimes it could be the junior infants reteaching the 6th class how to make up a game and how to play. So it does work both ways, that you can, I think having the juniors and the seniors play together is so brilliant, because the littlies actually can teach the seniors, because sometimes they forget how to play. They're not exposed to it as much. And by going back to it with the little ones, but giving them the responsibility.
They have a reason to play. And then for the little ones, they're probably like heroes. The
exactly.
Ones,
they love it.
They're taking the time to teach me.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you remember when did you do this in your school when you were in like 5th and 6th class and you got to 5th and 6th, you were in charge of going down to infants?
We were the big girls.
Yeah. And there was a special group who would go down at playtime or yard time it was called, and you were in charge of looking after the infants.
It was the best.
The impact on your self-esteem is incredible.
I think that's when I knew I wanted. Well, no, I knew before then that I wanted to be a teacher, but that solidified it for me. I loved it.
I could be chatting with you all day, and I'm actually thinking we're going to have to do a second part here. But just a bit more personal now with your own children. For you, because you're mummies as well, what's the most important thing that you want your children to learn, and how do you provide that?
Kindness, I think, and you can only provide it by modelling it. Coming back to something you said, Aimee, academics are not the be all and end all for me. I don't mind what my 2 boys do in life as long as they're happy and as long as they're good people. But kindness, to be kind to people. You don't know what's going on for somebody. I always remember I had only had Oisín and I was having a really bad day. One where you're questioning everything. I was first time mammy and you're questioning everything. So I put on a bright pink blazer and I took myself and the baby out for coffee. And we were over in Costa and we were having coffee. And a lady came, and I'll never forget her. I've no idea who she was. But she
and we're not sponsored by Costa.
No, we're not. Sorry. Sorry. We were in a coffee shop. Sorry.
Beep.
It's in a coffee shop.
No, it was. It's fine.
So we were in a coffee shop.
You can say Costa. Costa.
I took myself out for coffee to a coffee shop, and this lady came over to me. I have no idea who she was, but I'll never forget her. And she said, "You're doing an amazing job. Your baby looks really happy." And I was like, "Oh my God, what am I doing that she has?" I wasn't doing anything really. I was, I'm quite big on not being on my phone when I'm with the boys. So I wasn't on my phone. I was chatting to, a 6 or 8 week old baby. And she came over and said, "You're doing an amazing job." But she didn't know that I was having such a bad day, that I was having such a hard day. And her kindness has stuck with me forever. And I always say this to my class. I always say this to Oisín at home. Oren is a bit too young yet. He's only 6 months. But kindness. Treat everybody with kindness. You don't know what they're going through. So if nothing else, I want them to be kind.
Yeah, I love that.
And you can only provide that by modelling it.
Absolutely.
I greet everybody in a shop. Morning, how are you? Have a lovely day. And Oisín is watching that. And I see him doing it now. You know, he always says to people, you know, good morning, thank you, have a nice day, bye. You know, he says to me all the time, and my husband's brilliant at this. Oisín now says to me, I love your cardigan, Mom. You look gorgeous. You know, and I just think kind words, they're so important.
So important. Yes.
Yeah, I echo that. Kindness and like empathy. Just putting themselves in other people's shoes. Because they may be there someday. A big thing for us and our 2 boys is to be independent.
Yeah.
To just have the independence to go and do something and the confidence. I was very lucky to be in part of drama groups, arts and things, and that has given me the confidence to go and make decisions and stand over them and do things that I want to do. I want them to be able to, I know it sounds silly, but to cook their own dinner, you know, to make their own bed, to do things for themselves so that they can actually go, I did that, and stand up and be proud of themselves. And as well as that, like, for them to have regulation skills. And I mean, you've done amazing work in your class in giving those regulation skills to kids. And I just think if kids can figure out, I'm having a bad day, what do I need to do? You know, instead of, you know, banging their heads against a wall, or instead of lashing out at somebody, okay, all right, I know I need to go read my book, or I need to go out and be in the garden. So there's so many things I want them, but they're kind of the main things.
I agree with that. Like, I would never, we don't actually use punishment at all at home. We talk about things, but like, I would never use the bedroom, go to your room, would never use that. I've said to Oisín, do you need to go to your room? Do you want to go and lie down, or do you want to go and do whatever? You know, we don't have a naughty step. We don't have any of that. I don't agree with any of that. But you know, he might say, can I just sit in the stairs for 5 minutes? Yeah. And it's funny, he said to me one day, I'm just feeling so frustrated. And my husband kind of looked at me and he's like, whoa. But it's just all of that. And to know, like that, to be able to regulate themselves. Can I go out in the rain? Go on. Put on your rain jacket, your wellies. Go on. Have fun. You know, and that comes through a little bit of socio-dramatic play as well.
Yeah, and they can understand a lot more than we think.
Oh, yes, they can.
You know, we can use the real adult words like frustration or embarrassment.
They love vocabulary.
They love and they need it. Yeah,
and he can say to me now, Mum, are you feeling a bit frustrated? And I'm going, yes. Sorry. But as well, for him to see, you know, he said to me one day, do you need to walk away, Mum? I'm okay. But for him to know, I get frustrated too. Yeah. And like being a teacher, a mom is human too. So to give them that regulation is so important. And to give them the words, to be able to say, I'm feeling angry. And, you know, I always say to Oisín, it's okay to be angry. It's what you do with your anger.
Yeah. And it's important that we show them that the world is not perfect and we're not always happy. And it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be frustrated. And we can deal with it. Yeah. And showing them how we deal with it. Yeah. And then they can learn those techniques as well. And you mentioned, sorry, I have to bring it up. You don't like devices when you go out with your kids?
No, I don't. Why? And I have to say, it's one thing I'm really, really proud of. So Oisín is 5. And Oren is six months. But Oisín has never had our phones. He's never had a tablet. He's had our tablet on the plane. That is the only time that we've brought our tablet for. He watches TV, not a massive amount, but he does watch TV.
He's 3.
He's 5.
4. Oh, 5. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, I stopped time 2 years ago.
No, so he's 5. He obviously watches TV, and I'm not saying that, you know, he can't, but he's never played games on them, so he doesn't know any of that exists. We bring our iPads on holidays with him, you know, if he needs a bit of downtime or for the plane or for a bit of that. But we actually have a little bag. It's a makeup bag I bought, and we call it our go bag. I leave it in the boot of the car, and it has Snap, it has little tubs of Play-Doh, it has Dinkies, we have colours, we have just plain paper in it. And when we go to a restaurant, you know, he's 5 and he's still 5, he's still only a child. He can sit in a restaurant for 2 hours while we chat. But when we go out, like if myself and my husband want to not talk to the children, we go out on our own, which we don't do very often, but we go out on our own. When we go out as a family, we talk together. We talk with Oisín. He's engaged in all our conversations. We play the games. We play Snap between courses. We're colouring. I'm colouring with him. We play I Spy. So I have to say, and look, I don't know what other parents are going through. I don't know what their situation is, but it's my biggest bugbear when children are on devices at a table. We have a family dinner together and there's no screens at the table. But Oisín wouldn't even ask for it. He wouldn't even think you're allowed to have a screen at a table. And when we go to a restaurant, we have our little bag and we bring it, leave it in the car, because, you know, when you're out and you go, oh, we go in for a bite to eat or something, it's always there. And I change up the little activities every so often. And he has now started spotting things. That'd be great in our bag. Could we buy that and put that in the go bag? He loves it. But he's well able to sit at a table. He orders.
It's practice.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like one day you did that and it worked.
No.
It's hard. It is hard at the beginning, but it's that practice and him getting used to this is the way it works.
And I have to say, I've never, ever been tempted on a day where he's having a bad day. Can we just go home? I don't want this. I don't want that. I've never been tempted to say, here, just have my phone for 5 minutes. We've never done it. He has started asking us for our phones, but he's actually recording little videos of his cars, and he takes a slow motion video and stuff. And I actually think that's a skill. You know, I don't mind
that's
showing
the positive side of technology, 100%. And we need to use it.
Yeah, so he's recording his little videos. He doesn't watch YouTube, so, you know, he doesn't know any of that. But he's recording his little videos or taking photos. He has actually started taking photos of the way he creates a play. Like he'd do something on the tough tray and he'd take, can I use your phone, Mum? But I think that's a skill. Like he could end up being a photographer, you know.
Exactly,
so I don't mind that. I do think there are positives to technology, but children on screens, either watching something or playing a game, sitting in the buggy, it's my biggest bugbear. And I'm proud of the fact that we've never done it. I do think now with Oren coming up, it's going to be a little bit harder because, as I say, we've no devices. We've no PlayStation. We've no nothing like that. He's never played any of those games. But when Oisín gets it, Oren gets it. You know, so there's a 5-year gap. So Oren is going to be younger. Yeah. Like if Oisín gets something at 8, Oren's only going to be 3. It's going to be in the house. So he's going to be exposed to it. Like he's never seen anybody playing any games on devices or consoles, so he doesn't know about it, but Oren's going to see it. So it means that we're going to have to be very strict on the boundaries with that, which we will be. But
as you said earlier, it's a good opportunity for you to set those limits at home.
At home first.
And then if they go on play dates or things like that, he already has his.
And you're modelling it.
Yeah, he's going to be exposed to them. And we can't pretend they're not going to be exposed to these. They're going to go to a friend's house and they have the games. They have the consoles. Or I've even heard him talking about different things from primary school already. He has no idea what they're talking about, but the other children are talking about it. But so I think what we'll do is we'll get the device, we'll put our boundaries in place, and then that hopefully he has the maturity, the confidence, the regulation to say, I'm overstimulated by this now, I need to step away from it. And when he goes to a friend's house, that he'll have the confidence to say, actually, I don't want to play the game, can we go and play outside? And that we've also given him the skills of creating his own imaginative games or playing with, you know, the dinkies or playing with whatever it is, that he has that maybe he'd be more interested in playing those games and playing outside than he'll be playing on a device. We'll wait and see until when that comes.
And it builds such a beautiful connection with
your
children.
Yeah. And, you know, I love going out for dinner with the 4 of us, and I love sitting, chatting and looking around and talking about other people. We kind of make up stories of what do you think those people are doing? What's their family like?
You talking there just brings back to me and myself, my mum. You know, like every Saturday I'd have been going into like Dram or whatever. Mum would go off on her, you know, her shopping for 2 hours when I was at classes. But then we'd go to Bewley's on Grafton Street. And we would just sit there. And I had no devices, I had nothing. And we would people watch,
yeah.
And you'd make these stories up in your head. And I remember like when Alfie was born, he was about 10 days old. And, you know, your cabin fever is setting in. I was like, I'm going to a coffee shop. And it's like, oh, you're going to bring a baby to... No, he's going to fit into our lives.
Yeah.
You know, that was the biggest piece of advice that I got from a friend of mine was, your children fit into your life. So off we went to the coffee shop. And like yourself, I am so proud that our kids they can sit in restaurants.
But if they're never exposed to it, they won't get to do it.
Yeah.
My aunt, like that, 6 months old, we brought Oisín to a restaurant. We're going out for my husband's birthday. And my aunt was like, you're bringing him to 6, he's only 6 months. He sat in the high chair and he just ate off my plate.
Yes.
No bother, you know. But if they're not exposed to it, they can't adapt to those situations.
Yeah.
So just before we go, is there any advice you would like to share with other parents that might be listening now?
Yeah, I have 2. I think the first one that comes to mind is self-care for yourself. It's to put your self-care first. Book the nail appointment, read the book, and find your tribe and find those people who are in similar situations to you, and just reach out to them.
And that they're not necessarily your forever friends.
No, they're not. For right
just be okay with changing new friendships, and because we change as we grow, as we have kids.
Exactly.
So that's very important.
And my second one stems from, I get really excited when I talk about this, but it stems from a CEO. She's an Australian lady, and it's called the Bolognese philosophy. Gillian, you spoke about bringing your kids out for dinner and bringing them out to restaurants and things like that, and how important that is. But for us, so the Bolognese story stems from a philosophy to reset in an overworked world. And it stems from a lesson of a widow. I won't say too much about what happens because the video is available on YouTube, and it's called the Bolognese philosophy. But basically it is to make that meal that everybody in the family loves. And for us, it's bolognese or it's meatballs. And once a week, we make that time to have that meal where we all sit around the table. We know everyone's going to eat that dinner. Everyone's going to have an empty bowl. It's a big Italian feast, garlic bread, wine, water, whatever it is. But it's our chance to sit down, the four of us, with the kids and talk about our week, have the chats, and everybody is happy at the end of it. And the kids just go off and play at the end of it because they've had that connection with their parents. So for us, the Bolognese philosophy is really big in our house. We have one day a week where we all sit down and have that big meal. The boys go off and play. Myself and my husband sit there and have a conversation, and we dip in and out. Like, I sent you a message last night and my husband was down playing with the boys, and
They were so calm.
They were so calm because they had that time and the connection with us, and I was sitting back watching them. And I'm also a big believer in that as well. Observe your kids, see what they need. Don't always be reaching out and wanting to play with them. I was watching my husband sitting there playing with them, and then he'd come back up to me, and then we'd have the conversation. And that is the week and the night in the week where they can stay up a little bit later.
It sounds like their love tank is full, and when your love tank is full, you need nothing else.
So make the dinner that everybody loves, and then just
That's
sit
fab.
back.
I love that.
Yeah.
Fill your love tank with pasta.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I think that would touch on a bit of advice I have, is to be present with your children. You know, to really be present. All the little phases end. The good phases end as well as the bad phases. And I think just be present and enjoy it. And put on the wellies and go out in the rain.
Yeah.
It's my favourite thing. Puddles.
Yeah.
Puddles, jumping in the puddles. We went for a walk there one day. Oren in the buggy, he was very, very small. Oisin and I had the wellies and the rain jackets on, and we splashed in puddles, we jumped, we kicked water at each other. We were soaked coming home. And I sent my friend a video of it. She was like, oh my God, no way. Oh my God, no way. That was a hard no from me. And I was like, we had
Not until you do
the
it.
best day. I had the best day. And that's what he'll remember. And he was out the other evening and he said, can I put on my wellies and go outside? I'd say there were parents looking out going, look at your man
What's
outside
wrong with
jumping
her?
in puddles. It's raining. And she's let Oisin out. And it's only a bit of rain. He won't melt. He's not sugar or salt. So put on the wellies. And it's when they repeat things back to you. He said, come on, Mom, we're not sugar or salt.
I think we'll all say that now.
And he says that to me now. You know, I'd say, oh gosh, I think it's going to start to rain. So we're not sugar or salt, Mum.
Yeah.
I love that.
So
It's just water.
put on the wellies and jump in the puddles. Even as an adult, you'll enjoy it.
Thank you so much. That was so amazing.
Thank you for
I
having
learned
us.
so
Yeah, I
much.
loved it.
Thank you.
And I'm sure I'll have you back.
Thank you.
I have so many
Absolutely loved
questions
it.
left. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you'd like to share your own story on our podcast, please get in touch through our social media. Don't forget to like, share and follow so you'll never miss out on upcoming episodes. See you next time!